The moon, it's not that simple after all. For 53 years since the last astronaut of the Apollo program in 1972, we thought we already understood it. A dead rock, silent, just gray in color and without any more mystery. But on April 6, 2026, everything changed. 4 astronauts orbited the far side of the moon, the part we can't see from Earth. And what they saw changed our beliefs in just a few hours. They were Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen. They were the crew of Artemis II. This was the first time that a woman, a black astronaut, and a non-American traveled beyond Earth's orbit. They launched from Kennedy Space Center on April 1, 2026 at 6:35 in the evening. They were aboard the most powerful rocket ever built by NASA, the Space Launch System. It's extremely tall, and its thrust is incredibly powerful. In less than 5 minutes, they were already out of Earth's orbit, and from that moment on, there was no turning back. Their route is called a free return. This means that even if the spacecraft's engine fails, the gravity of the moon will still bring them back to Earth. This was also used in Apollo 13 in 1970. This is the safest route, but it also shows how dangerous it is. Because the safest option is the one that's prepared even if the engine completely fails. As they pass behind the moon, they're about 4,670 miles above its surface. And at that moment, they became the most isolated people in history. No signal, no communication, no connection at all to Earth. For 40 minutes, the moon itself blocked the signal. No radio, no voice from mission control, no data, no instructions in case of emergency. Just silence. And beneath them, the oldest and most battered part of the solar system. Before losing signal, Victor Glover tried to describe what he saw, but he couldn't. He said it seemed like people aren't ready to see something like that. It's hard to explain. And when the signal was finally lost at 6:44 in the evening, the 4 of them were left alone with something they couldn't understand. To understand why the far side of the moon is different, you first need to understand its near side. But before we start, don't forget to like this video. This means a lot to us content creators. Thank you very much, and now let's get started. The side that we see every night. The appearance. There are large, dark areas. These are called Maria. These are ancient lava. They were once hot rocks that flowed and hardened. This happened billions of years ago. About 31% of the front of the moon is covered with this kind of volcanic rock. That's why the moon looks the way we know it, like it has a face, the one you see in drawings and pictures. But on the far side of the moon, there's almost none of this, less than 1%. Instead, it's all craters, layer upon layer, newer ones on top of older ones. It's like it was hammered by a giant hammer for 4 billion years, and it didn't stop. And that's not all. The crust on the far side of the moon is thicker. It's about 50 kilometers thick, thicker than the near side. And up to now, scientists still aren't sure why it's like this. The most well-known explanation is that a very powerful collision happened in the southern part of the moon, an impact that was extremely strong. It was like it shook the entire inside of the moon. Because of this, special materials were pushed toward the near side of the moon, and that collision left the largest crater in the entire solar system, the South Pole-Aitken Basin. It stretches to about 2,500 kilometers wide and has a depth of up to 13 kilometers. If you put it on a map of the United States, it could cover the distance from Texas to Virginia. On its edge, there are mountains that are among the highest on the moon. They reach up to 8,500 meters high. But the most unusual thing is not just on the surface, but underneath. Something is hidden. In 2019, a group of scientists led by Peter James studied the gravity of the area using data from the Grail mission and the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter. And what they discovered was a strange mass beneath the ground. About 300 kilometers deep, there is an extremely heavy object. It is estimated to weigh 2.18 quintillion kilograms. It's like a massive chunk of metal 5 times larger than the big island of Hawaii, buried beneath the surface of the moon. And because of its weight, it pulls down the floor of the crater. It's pulled down by more than half a mile. The most likely explanation is that this is the metallic core of the asteroid that crashed into the moon billions of years ago. And even now, it's still there. It's like a bullet that was never removed from the body. And the crew of Artemis the Sun, they are the first people to see the edge of this massive basin. With their own eyes, they didn't see it on camera or just in the data. They saw it themselves through the window of the spacecraft. The astronauts of the Apollo program didn't see it back then. Their route was different, and the sunlight didn't hit it at the right angle either. But the Artemis 2 astronauts, their mission was designed differently. It's closer, and at a certain angle, sunlight hit about 21% of the far side. That's enough to see things that no one has ever seen before. That's one of their targets. Their route is different. A huge impact mark. It's almost 600 kilometers wide, and it's estimated to be 3.8 billion years old. From above, it looks like a target mark, like a bullseye that hit the moon. The crew prepared for this. They trained in places like Iceland to learn how to identify landforms, because they're not scientists, they're pilots and engineers. Christina Koch noticed that the newer craters are much brighter compared to the older, darker surroundings. She said it's like tiny holes in the light, sparkling in white. Before they even reached the far side, they saw something else, a strange mark on the surface of the moon, Rainer Gamma. It's like a streak of white paint on top of dark rock, but it's unusual. It has no height. It's not a crater. It's not lava either. It's just flat, like a mark. And even more surprising, it matches a magnetic anomaly beneath the moon. This means something unusual is happening inside that science still doesn't fully understand. The moon doesn't have a global magnetic field. It's been gone for a long time, billions of years. But even so, there are still parts of the rock that have magnetism. It's like a trace of something that once protected it. Rainer Gamma is located on top of one of these places, and until now, scientists still aren't sure why. It might be protecting the surface against the solar wind, or maybe there's another reason that we still don't understand. Because of this, it became a priority target for Artemis 2. The crew took pictures of it as they passed by. While observing, Victor Glover noticed what is called the terminator. It's the line between the bright and dark parts of the moon. In this part, the appearance of the craters changes. Because of the angle of the light, the shadows become deeper. They look like holes that go straight into the moon. Glover said it feels like there's magic there. It's like there are lights and darkness you could fall into. While he was looking at the middle of the moon, Christina Koch and Jeremy Hansen were taking pictures of other parts, like the Vavilov crater on the edge of the larger Hertzsprung Basin. While this was happening, the team on Earth was updating the instructions in real time based on what the crew was seeing. And they also noticed something else that isn't often seen in satellite images: colors. The moon isn't just all gray. There's a bit of brown, some green, and in some places there's a hint of blue. These are colors that are clearer to the eye than to the camera. And this is important because color tells us what kind of minerals are in the soil and how old it is. What they saw wasn't just beautiful. It carried information that could change our understanding of the moon's history. And there's something a bit concerning. In 2023, researchers discovered something, a part beneath the far side of the moon that's warmer than its surroundings. The difference is about 10 degrees Celsius, and it spans roughly 50 kilometers. This isn't normal. What they suspect is the cause is a large chunk of granite, a type of rock that's common on Earth but almost non-existent on the moon. And this is where it gets unusual, because to form granite you need water and plate tectonics, two things that the moon doesn't have. So the question is, how did it form? According to scientists, it's possible that this is a remnant from an ancient volcano that stopped erupting about 3.5 billion years ago. But even now, there's still some heat left. According to Matt Sigler, it's more similar to what we see on Earth than what we would expect on the moon. And this is where a deeper question comes in. If there's still heat underneath, what else could be there? That's not all. There's another mystery. The lava tubes, tunnels beneath the moon, formed from ancient lava. There are holes visible from orbit that look like entrances going inside. And it's possible that the spaces inside are huge, big enough to fit large structures. But until now, we still don't know how big they are, how many there are, or how strong they are. And what's even more unsettling, what's inside? It could be gas, it could be pure volcanic materials, or maybe a completely different condition from what's on the surface. For now, we still don't know if these are still closed. And in the upcoming Artemis program missions, this might be what they'll explore next. But while this was happening, the crew of Artemis Ascend saw something else that no one had ever seen before from this distance and in this kind of detail. They saw something else that almost no one has ever experienced, a total solar eclipse, seen right from the orbit of the moon. As the spacecraft orbited, they passed behind the moon, and gradually the sun was covered until it completely disappeared. For almost 54 minutes, it was total darkness, much longer than any eclipse seen on Earth. Around them, the sun's corona appeared. Its outer layer looked like a bright ring surrounding the entire moon. Victor Glover said, "It's so bright, it's like the whole moon is being covered by light." Jeremy Hansen also noticed that during the eclipse, the entire edge of the moon was illuminated. You can see the mountains, the ridges, the landforms silhouetted against the intense light like fire at the edge of darkness. But they saw something even more unusual. During the eclipse, there were sudden flashes on the surface of the moon, brief flashes that disappeared right away. Jeremy Hansen and Reed Wiseman noticed this. It could be small meteorites hitting the moon. Scientists on Earth immediately asked them about it, and they confirmed that they did see at least one clear flash, but they couldn't say how long it lasted. And this is where you understand how exposed the moon is. It doesn't have an atmosphere, no protection, no shield. Everything from space hits it directly. Small rocks, radiation, solar wind, everything. And this isn't new. For many years, people have seen these kinds of flashes from Earth. Lights that suddenly appear and disappear. These are called transient events. Some come from meteor impacts. Others could be dust flying because of electric charge or gas coming out from inside. But until now, not everything is understood. No one knows for sure. It's possible that what the Artemis II crew saw was one of those mysterious flashes. A flash that they couldn't verify because there wasn't enough time. This isn't the first time something like this has happened. During the Apollo missions, there were astronauts who also reported this. Even when their eyes were closed, they could see something like a light, streaks of light behind their eyes. The reason is high-energy particles from space that pass right through their retinas. This comes from what is called the galactic cosmic rays. They're extremely fast, almost as fast as light, and almost nothing can stop them. Their exposure back then lasted only a few days. But even so, some astronauts developed cataracts earlier than normal. Most of them, however, lived long lives. There was no clear evidence of cancer caused by radiation. But there's a problem with the data, because only 24 people have gone beyond Earth's protection. That's too small to draw a definite conclusion. Now, the risk is on a different level. The crew of Artemis II will stay in deep space for 10 days, and it's not just about the duration. They're in the middle of the solar maximum. This is the most active phase of the sun in its 11-year cycle. Here, the chances of solar storms are at their highest. And when there's a strong solar storm, radiation levels can reach almost deadly levels in just a few minutes. They have the protection of the Orion spacecraft. It's more advanced than Apollo, but it's still not enough against everything, because cosmic rays come from exploding stars, like supernovae, and they can penetrate almost anything, even thick shields. According to Alexandra Stankovic, This is the biggest limitation for humans in space exploration. In other words, this is what could stop us from going to farther places. She calls it a showstopper. That's why now scientists are working hard. They're trying different methods, experimental drugs, special foods or supplements, and even advanced ideas like gene therapy, techniques inspired by organisms that can survive even in high radiation. But for now, there's still no perfect solution, because if someday people really want to stay beyond that protection, engineering alone isn't enough. Biology needs to be part of the solution. On Artemis II, they're bringing a special experiment. It's called the Avatar payload. It contains bone marrow cells taken directly from the crew's blood. When they return, scientists will study how those cells were affected by radiation in deep space. And the data we get from this is even more important than any picture, because this will give us the answer, whether the human body can really withstand this kind of environment. While they were behind the moon, a critical thing happened. They had no communication. For 40 minutes, there was no signal, no help. If a solar storm hit, no one on Earth would know. Until the signal returned, they were prepared. They had training. They had protocols. The Orion spacecraft could supply oxygen even in an emergency. They also had pressure suits. But no matter how prepared they were, the truth wouldn't change. During those 40 minutes, there were only 4 of them. They were inside a capsule only as big as a large van, separated from Earth by about 2,160 miles of the moon's solid rock, surrounded by a place full of traces of ancient collisions and bombarded by radiation that the human body was not made to withstand. Then the signal returned. Mission Control in Houston erupted with joy. They were safe. They were alive. And they brought back a story that had never been heard before. The crew said they saw the Earth gradually disappearing, a pale blue crescent slowly sinking behind the gray surface of the moon. NASA called that image Earthset, the opposite of the famous Earthrise taken by Bill Anders in 1968. But this time, the Earth isn't rising. It's leaving, disappearing, slowly fading behind the moon. Christina Koch described that moment in the simplest yet most profound way. She said that when you see the Earth from that perspective, you realize how much we are all alike and that everything we need is provided by the Earth. And you won't fully understand that until you see it from afar. As they orbited the moon, they also named 2 craters. One of them they called Integrity, which came from the name they gave to the Orion spacecraft. The other one they named Carol after Reed Wiseman's late wife, Carol Taylor Wiseman, who passed away in 2020. It can be found between the near side and far side of the moon. And if you know where to look, you can see it from Earth. A small but bright area. According to Jeremy Hansen, it's just a bright spot on the moon. But for them, it has meaning. The Artemis II mission set a new record. The farthest humans have ever traveled from Earth, approximately 252,756 miles. At their closest to the moon, they reached a speed of 60,863 miles per hour relative to Earth. Their entire observation lasted 7 hours. And during that time, they took thousands of pictures. And those pictures are important. According to NASA, these will help us better understand how the moon was formed, how the solar system evolved, and where future missions should go. Because the story doesn't end here, the next step is for humans to return to the moon, not just to see it, but to stay. What the crew saw and described were not just simple observations. This is important for humanity's next step on the moon, because even if a place looks safe in a picture from the orbiter, it looks different when seen through human eyes. There are shadows that suddenly deepen in unexpected areas, especially in what's called the terminator, the line between light and darkness. This is where the terrain becomes dangerous. That's why these details will determine where the next mission will actually land. And the far side of the moon is gradually becoming an important place, not yet in politics, but in science. In January 2019, Chang'e 4 of the China National Space Administration made history. This was the first successful landing on the far side of the moon, inside the von Karman crater. It's a large crater with an area of approximately 100 meters. It's part of the South Pole-Aitken Basin, one of the largest impact areas in the solar system. But there's a problem. It's not possible to communicate directly with Earth from the far side, so they used a relay satellite called Queqiao. This served as a communications relay. The rover they brought found minerals like olivine and pyroxene. This means that the impact that created the basin reached deep into the moon and brought out materials from its interior. In 2024, exploration deepened even further with Chang'e 6. This was the first mission to bring samples from the far side back to Earth. Until now, scientists are still studying them. And there's another reason why the far side is so important. It's the quietest place in the inner solar system. When it comes to signals, there's no interference. There's no noise from Earth. It's a perfect place for space observation. All signals from Earth, cell towers, broadcasts, Wi-Fi, are blocked by about 3,400 kilometers of the moon's solid rock. That means there's no noise, no interference for the scientists. This is the quietest place to listen to the universe. If you put a telescope there, it can detect signals that can't be seen from Earth. Frequencies lower than 30 megahertz that are blocked by our atmosphere. And there, it might be possible to open a window into the very earliest part of the universe, something we've never seen before. That's why many space agencies have plans to build an observatory on the far side. Because the moon doesn't just hide secrets, it also helps us better understand the entire universe. For many years, we've gazed at the moon, and we thought we already knew it. We've landed there 6 times, collected rocks, studied. But all of that came from just one part, the near side. It's like landing in a desert and saying the whole world is just sand. But it's not. The real story is on the far side, a place that's very old, full of traces of collisions, impacts that have long been erased on the other side. A massive basin that could have affected the moon's axis. There's a hidden metal mass that can alter the gravity in that area. There's heat that still can't be explained. There are lava tubes that still haven't been explored, and a crust that's very different compared to what we see. According to Victor Glover, when they came out from behind the far side and saw the Earth again, one thing was clear. The moon is not just a picture in the sky. It's a real place. And as we learn more about it, it becomes even more unsettling to grasp. Because the far side isn't just different. The moon itself is different. It keeps forcing us to rewrite the story about it. There's granite that shouldn't be there. There's mass that doesn't match what we expect. There's an uneven shape. There's no single explanation. There are traces of magnetism in the crust, even though its magnetic field has long disappeared. There are moonquakes that were detected back during the Apollo program. Tremors that show something is still moving inside, in a world we thought was already dead. For every answer the far side gives, 3 more questions arise. And as time goes on, it only gets harder. The moon, it's not what we thought it was, and the truth is, we're only just beginning to understand what it really is. And here, one thing becomes clearer. The closer people get to the moon, the more questions there are than answers. This isn't just a simple trip into space. This is the beginning of a deeper understanding of things we've been observing for a long time, but we still don't really understand them. And with every mission that follows, it's not just the moon that will be discovered, but also how far we can really go. Maybe this is really the beginning of a clearer understanding for us, not just of the moon, but also of what else we can discover.